true.
Hey, but don't let me laugh and bow. I haven't done this interview in a long time. Hi. Why did you let somebody else interview me? She make me laugh. Just be expression.
Okay, so the last is religion.
Okay. Oh, hallelujah. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's do.
Religion. So, do you consider yourself a Christian?
Yes.
Okay, why? Like, what's your definition of Christianity?
For me, Christianity, my definition of being a Christian, you have to be Christ-like. So you have to try as much as possible to be like Christ,
right?
Which is difficult because we are human, and
right.
The flesh is willing. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Wait, Trace, that's how I said it.
Yeah, it sounds right.
The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Yeah. So, yeah, but I was born into a Christian home. My mom was a charismatic Christian. My dad was a Catholic. So my mom would take us to church, everything. So growing up, I knew God.
Right.
I knew of God. Let me put it like I knew of God.
Yeah.
I knew God, but I didn't have a personal relationship.
Yeah.
And it was just me. My mom would say, let's go to church, this and this, so we'll do that. But I think 11, 12, 13, I was knowing God more, 14, 15. And then when I got to boarding school, it was not a thing for me anymore because it was like growing up, if you were like that, you were not cool.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say I wanted to be part of the cool crowd. I didn't care to be part of the cool crowd or not. I was just being me. And then in the middle of it, I knew God, but I wasn't so on fire for God and everything.
Right.
So this carried on to uni. I would still pray and everything, but I think I didn't have a personal relationship with God. And not until I think 22, 23, then I started, learning on the things of God and everything. But then I was still sinning sideline. So I was
human.
I was like, let me balance it. Let me balance life and Christianity.
Right.
But then growing up and then, reading the Bible for myself and understanding certain things for myself, meditating and, speaking to God for myself, I feel like I know Him now.
Yeah. I've definitely seen the change in you.
Yeah, I know Him now. I'm still the old me, crazy stuff. We can still go back wild and everything.
Right.
But then I'm definitely tamed now. Like I can say that I have a personal relationship with God.
But was there like an event in your life that just sparked and you're like, yo, I need God to maneuver?
I think so. Do I remember exactly what it was? I think it was a series of events that happened. And then I just thought it was fate and it was just bad luck and things.
Right.
But then it just didn't make sense. Certain things didn't make sense. And a lot of times when things happen, a lot of people tend to say, oh, Christians, everything is... a lot of times people will say that Christians are always saying the devil is doing this, the devil is doing that, the devil is doing that. But then it wasn't until I had a conversation with my friend once, Priscilla, and we were talking about generational curses and bloodline patterns and things. And then back in the days, I would have thought, oh, Christians, everything is a curse or this and this. But I actually started reading about it and then learning about it. And then it opened my eyes to so many things. And then I would read the Bible and I would ask God to, I don't want a pastor or somebody to say it for me to believe it. I want you to teach me the word as I read.
Right.
Because I didn't only want Christianity to be a Sunday service for me.
Yeah.
I wanted it to be a lifestyle for me. So, through reading, I feel like I've developed, listening to preachings here and there, I feel like even God Himself has revealed certain things to me.
Like what?
Like I tell people all the time, sometimes it's funny. I would sleep and I'll think of a dress or a bag or this, and I'll draw them down. And the other time I was looking through my iPad, and I saw all these styles, and I was like, why haven't I done these? Are things that, like, you know. And this is something that I got. It was in my dreams. For art's sake, it was my dreams, and I dreamt that and then I did it, and it did well. So I'm like, wow, you being, you know, stubborn to the other ones. So maybe I should.
Yeah, you should.
But anyway, yeah, I feel like He would speak to me, and when people said God will speak to you, sometimes I thought, you know, you'd be there, God would be like, behold,
like how they do it on the movies.
But then I also read that in the Bible that He does speak to us in dreams and visions. But sometimes we're too clouded in our minds, and we're focusing on other things, to hear. And He speaks to you in so many ways, so many languages, through music sometimes. Sometimes you'll be walking and thinking something, and then you see the poster or something on the back of somebody's bumper sticker or something, you know, and then it's just Him talking to you. And then, so now I feel like I have a personal relationship with Him.
Right.
I just ask, you know, sometimes, like a month ago, I remember I was like stressed and depressed, and
we had that conversation sometime, because I was also going through it,
and I was so drained, and there was just so many things pulling me, and it was just like too much. So I remember I was in town, and I was like, ugh. So I went home, and I was like, oh God, I'm gonna cry. So because I believe that if you cry, it takes a little bit of weight off your shoulder. So I drove home. I'm like, I'm gonna cry. I got home. I called my mom. I couldn't cry that whole day. So I was like, okay, tomorrow.
You have to make it cry.
This is just one of many, but this is like the most recent one. So I remember I got dressed. It was a Tuesday morning. I got dressed. I was ready to come to town and everything. And then something just told me, no, just stay at home. So I remember I called Tracy. I was like, oh, do I have anything to do? She's like, no, I don't have anything to do. I was like, okay, if you need anything, let me know. So I was just in the house, and I was lying in bed. I remember I took my clothes off again, and I was just wearing my pajamas, and I was lying in bed. I was like, oh, look, let me just sleep today, and this, you know, maybe. And then I started the reading from Matthew. So I think I was still in Matthew. Yeah, I was still in Matthew. And then I was in John, sorry. And then the verses leading up from 15, 16, all of it just was saying, whatever it is, just ask God, and He will do it. And when He will do it, not because of me, He will do it because He's faithful, and that He wants His name to be glorified. And I realized that with all the things that I'm going through, never once had I asked God to take the wheel. And sometimes, and because I'm of the mindset that if you want something done, you do it yourself.
Right.
Because then sometimes like yesterday, I got up and I went to Macaulay, I just handled it and everything. So because I get things done myself, because then you know how you do things and how you want it to be done and everything. But I had never asked God. I had never seeked Him. I had never said, God, fix it. God, do it. God, do this. How should I do this? How should I do it? Like, I'd taken it all upon myself.
Yeah.
And then even petty things like that, one may think it's petty to you, God still wants you to give it to Him to do.
Right.
So then that was just like so I read 15, and 15 said that. I read 16, 16 said that, 17 said that, 18 said that. I was like, oh wait, God, this is you talking to me, you know? And then then that's when I just broke down, and I started crying. So I was like, God, just do it, fix it, you know, repair it, restore it, do this, do that, da, da, da. I'm like, I leave it all in your hands, you know, because the battle is not for me, it's for you. So you take hold of it, you do it. If it's something that I'm holding on to, it's not even according to your will and purpose for my life.
Right.
Let me let go of it, you know. Whatever is toxic, like, take it out of my system. It's not about me. It's not about Diva Delicious. It's not about money. It's not about, at the end of the day, I'm not taking any of those things to the grave.
Right.
It's about you. It's about what you want from me. It's like, I want to be a vessel that you work through, you know. And honestly, I've come to a point in my relationship with Him that I'll stop anything and everything just to, you know, to serve Him, to do His will and everything. So then I just started crying and bawling. And then when I'd finished crying, bawling, praying and everything, I just felt so light.
Yeah.
And since then, I've been feeling so light. But then we are human. So sometimes you start to think back.
Right.
So every time I start to think back, I'm like, no, I have to get back and everything. And then I watched this movie some time ago, War Room, and she just basically got a space for her to pray, because a lot of times also when things are going, there's this thing that my pastor said. He said that whatever you prayed for, whatever you got from praying, you have to sustain it by praying.
Right.
So a lot of times I think that when our breakthrough happened, then we stop, we've got to.
Right.
No, you have to sustain it by praying. And yesterday I was having a conversation with my friend, and she was talking about, why is it that Christians are always suffering and whatever, and then atheists or people who do not believe in God are thriving. And I was trying to explain to her that once you take Satan is the prince of the world.
Right.
So that's the same way he enticed Jesus, that I will give you all the things of the world. I'll give you this, I'll give you that if you bow to me.
Yeah.
So he fell, he's become the prince of this world and everything. Now we, as Christians, once you take a stand, we are in the world.
Right.
Once we take a stand for God,
yeah,
everything satanic and demonic is going to fight you. And it's going to fight your faith, because the devil wants to fight your faith.
Right.
And because he cannot get to your faith.
Because he wants you to be off the world.
So because he cannot fight your faith straight on, he will fight your finances, he will fight your health, he will fight your... in our church, our pastor did an illustration. And he said when two people are in the boxing ring, the box, I think you get the point where you hit the face.
Right.
So the whole time the boxer is like this.
Right.
The boxer never goes like this, he's like this.
Right.
But then your opponent starts to hit you here, hit you here, hit you. At some point,
you remove your face.
You remove your face. So your faith is your face. Your ribs and that he's hitting your finances. He's hitting your this. So you're a Christian. So if you're a Christian and that's what he did, like in Job. I don't know if you know the story about Job. Of course I know.
We were just talking about it yesterday.
What didn't he lose? He lost his kids in a day, his flock, his sheep. He lost everything because the enemy, and in Job, the enemy actually asked permission from God, and God was like, Job will never forsake me.
He won't.
And the enemy was like, oh.
He was like, you want to bet?
Yeah, you want to bet? So he took his kids, and Job was still serving. He took his money, his flock, his thing. Job was still serving. Then the last point I feel like the enemy will hit you before he hits your faith is your health.
Right.
Because then, like, when in your dying bed, it's like, God, are you listening? Are you not listening? Like this good. And this. And he just kind of takes it. But Job was still praising. Even Job's wife said, curse God and die. And Job was like, no. Whilst I have breath, I'll still praise the Lord and everything. And Job's situation did not turn around till his friends prayed for him.
Right.
So, if you're, like, of course, the devil doesn't want you to serve him, so he's gonna. And you may think from the sideline that this atheist or this person doesn't believe God is thriving, but you do not. That's just the money you see. That's just the material thing. He not gonna die and be buried with his what's it called? Where his soul is gonna go either to heaven or to hell. That judgment I leave for God.
Right.
But then, I mean, what is he going down with?
Nothing.
I had a patient who was in Kolebu, and he said to me that his whole life he had worked so hard for his kids and this, and now he's on his deathbed. Nobody's there. His kids come in all on the phone, this and this, and he says he's amassed so much wealth. He can buy. They live in Chasako. He has houses all over. You name it, he has it in the world. And his kids come in, they're all on their phones, taking care of business. They can't even clean him up. They can't. So he was like, you know what? And then he thought about it. He's like, listen, let me tell you, enjoy life. Right. Serve God, because all these things, they can't help me now that I'm here. You know, so there's no way the enemy. So and the people that are thriving, a lot of them are depressed.
You don't know anybody's story.
Going through they're going through things. Not to say that Christians do not go through. Yes, we do. But then it's like sometimes you believe God, you just know He would do it. You know, and a lot of them too can be lazy sometimes. Yeah. You know, God says you bless the work of your hands, so you have to be working.
God helps those who help themselves.
You have to be working. When God created Adam, He said you should till the ground. So He was working. You know, when even all His disciples, when He met them, they were all working. They were fishing, they were doing this. So even He Himself was a carpenter. So all these people sitting down waiting for manna to drop from heaven. Yeah, it doesn't work. You have to. So I don't know. I think that for me personally, God has taught me so many things about him. I'm still learning. I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
You know, I have my days where my flesh takes off and then I'm like, oh God, forgive me. And then things. But as long as I have that relationship with him, and then in my bit, one way or the other, I feel like if I go online and I'm writing my experiences, when I wrote this experience, my friend was like, oh, I think this is too much for social media. And I was like, if you know the messages I've got, and I'm not saying it to put my business out there because I didn't say exactly what was wrong with me, but what I'm going through, because a lot of people go through that. We are humans. And I was like, the messages that I got after, people going through the same and everything, I felt like, you know, and actually there are a couple of people that called me and I prayed with them, and some people prayed for me on WhatsApp and everything. And I was so grateful. I was like, but that's what Christianity is. It's a lifestyle. You know, so
then is it like the whole like God thing? Is it like a being somewhere in the like what like how do you think
is he like a being?
Like is he some big like what is how do when you say like you're praying to God and stuff, is who?
I'm definitely praying to God the Spirit, I'm praying through the Holy Spirit and everything. I do not see him as or like I said, like you talk to you this and this. I guess one day we'll all see him. I've watched stories about people who died and went to heaven and their accounts and everything. And I think it's fascinating. I'm sure. I mean, when I am praying to God or talking to God, I do not see a being. I feel a presence. I feel a presence. Sometimes it's like it becomes so strong that I have goosebumps or I just cry and I feel the Holy Ghost around me. And honestly, you will feel it. You feel it. Like, I remember the day that I was crying like that, I was like, oh, if I could, you know, sometimes you just need a hug.
Some validation,
And then I felt it, and I felt the presence was so strong, and then I just knew. So, and I think when you know, you know.
You know.
So it's not like I'm looking up to some huge, you know, something and thing, but that's how I felt.
Have you gone in, like how you were saying the whole Job story, have you had some situations that your Christianity was tested and you're like, Charlie, this ain't it?
I've had a lot of situations
like
where my Christianity was tested. I think even in relationships and deciding to be celibate, and then you know, even like in business, and you know, people that you meet, they'll do certain things for you if you do certain things. You're like, nah, I'm Christian. And then in your mind, you're feeling like, oh, but I'm losing out on that thing. But then I realized that every time, and you get people that will come up, and it's sad thing. But then, I mean, I'm like, you know, I'll take it. Don't get me wrong. I've gotten to the point, I've had points where I faltered, and I was like, oh God.
I mean, you're human.
Because the guilt that weighs you down. So I was like, nah. But now it's like you take a stand for God, and even when your faith is tested and everything, which I have, I've had them. I'm like, you know, and I always pray. I'm like, God, in my weakness, you are strong. You make me strong. This and this, and then I've put these stickers all in my car. So every day I proclaim it and profess it, because
it's right there.
We had a conference earlier, and then Bishop Gideon was saying that why must you continue to fill yourself as a Christian? And he's like, because we have the tendency to leak.
True.
So you just have to fill yourself. Keep feeling. You have to. Faith is something that you build.
So
you have to.
It's like any muscle, like going to the gym. You have to continue.
So you have to keep building and everything. So how do you build it? You build it believing, and then you build it with the Word of God. Because every time I'm reading the Word, I just pray. I ask God for discernment and revelation, because then I can read. And then sometimes somebody will say a word in a certain way that you go back and read it and have a whole different revelation and everything. So, and all of that, I think it builds my faith. And when I'm tested, every day. I'm tested. Even today, I was tested. I was like, I rolled my glass down. I was like,
and then I'm like, it's okay.
So I was like, when I feel, I'm like, hey, Christian sister.
Well, you're human.
Yeah, exactly. We are human. So we thank God for grace. But I think a lot of people also abuse grace and abuse the fact that, I can pray and God will forgive me and things like that. But then when you know, and I think that's a sin that God, like when you know what you're doing is wrong, but you're still doing it, then that's a whole different thing. I'm like, oh God, I thank you.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And then, so the last question I have is, how have you seen grace? Like, has some stuff happened that you're just like, this one is just like divine?
Yeah.
It's not,
yeah.
It doesn't make sense. You just know that it's because of.
Oh yeah. I think the one that sticks out for me most, and I'm saying that because I just, someone just brought it up a month ago. I think the Malcolm building that collapsed.
I remember that was scary.
That was scary. Oh, I've had issues. I've had like accidents and things, but that one always stands out for me because, like,
so
it
what
was
happened?
Just right there. I remember I went to the bank because
so
Sunchurch was just right there. So I went to the bank and I needed flowers because I had bags come in and I wanted to sew some flowers on there. So I went, took out money, and then I was walking into Malcolm. It was one morning, I think November 7th. So I was walking into Malcolm. And then I pick up the call and it's Michelle, and I had to style her for a shoot.
Michelle Atto.
Yeah, so she was calling me to find out, to let me know what she wanted and things.
She's an angel. She doesn't even know.
I told her, I was like, oh, you saved me. She's like, but I don't think she.
Yeah.
Anyway, so and there were cars passing and things, so it was very loud. I couldn't hear her. So I was like, oh, give me a second. So I turned around, walked in my car, sat in my car. Door open. I'm like, okay, you want this? Okay, writing it down. So I spoke to her for a good maybe 7 to 10 minutes. And then I got out of the car, I locked it. I literally took 3 steps and then boom.
The building fell down.
The building just came down. And I remember I was just on the, like, I was holding my bag and I was the dust everywhere and then it's just, I froze for like a good 1-2 minutes. I froze.
My goodness.
And this thing was just coming down. The whole place was shaking. And then there were some cars by me and their glasses had all like broken and burst out and everything. And I remember the hawkers started running. Everybody started running.
And you were just
I was just standing there because I was frozen and I was like all covered in dust. And I was going to the hospital, but I needed to pick up. I was on duty that day.
Right.
So when I snapped out of it, all I could hear was people screaming. And the first thing that you could see on top of all the rubbles was flowers.
Oh my God, the flowers that you came for.
The flowers I was going to buy. And how, I don't know. But it was like flowers. So it was like a gravesite and flowers all over. And then I snapped out of it. Then I started running. And I was like, I'm a nurse. What should I do?
Yes.
I was just walking. And then there's this guy that was like, his leg was all bleeding. So I remember I saw, there was an orange seller. And I just basically yanked her case off her head and I went to tie him. And then people were screaming, but I was also scared. I didn't know whether I should go into the rubble or not.
Right.
And then someone was also trying to get everybody away from the side. So it was just chaos. And I remember calling Russell. I'm like, Russell,
oh my God,
somebody.
Russell.
Yeah, I'm like, call somebody. Malcolm is down. He's like, what are you saying? He's like, who should I call? What are you talking about? I'm like, Malcolm, it just came down. Da, 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 da. Then who else? I called somebody else. I was like, because I couldn't even think. So I was like, who? Like, get it on the radio, get it somewhere, get help. Like, who's gonna fire service? This, that. So I remember just sitting there. I called my job. I'm like, look, I can't come in today. This is what is happening. Oh, wait, are you okay? I clicked and I called my mom. I clicked and then my mom also felt bad because she's like, oh, when you buy the flowers, make sure you buy me some sardines. I'm like.
I like Telly.
So yeah, I remember I called him. I'm like, I'm okay. I couldn't move my car because the whole place was just scrambled. Now people started rushing in, trying to pull people out. It was just crazy.
Oh my goodness.
So that thing just, I was like,
that one,
it was by God's grace.
I remember when you told me, I was like, what?
It was by God's grace. I wouldn't have been here.
It was the Achimota one, right?
Yeah, it was the Achimota one. Even up till now, when I'm in there, the way I literally in there for 5 minutes and I
don't think I'll be able to even go there.
Like I never went there till I think last year, and I needed some Christmas decorations, so I went in, and then I think I haven't been there since. And then 3 days ago, I was there to buy something for a client, and then I literally ran
in out,
because
wow.
But for the longest, I couldn't go to any Malcolm. I'll see the cracks. And I'm like, okay, bye bye, and then I would go out.
That's so scary.
That was like
so scary.
It was ridiculous.
Well, that's it. We're done.
We're done.
We're done. No. Oh my God. Wow.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate it.
Oh, I've had so many memories come back.